This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. Legislation to modernize the Bank of Jamaica, BOJ, is to be tabled in Parliament within the next 6 months. That's according to Minister of Finance and Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clark. He made the disclosure at a recent meeting with rating agencies while attending the International Monetary Fund World Bank Governors 2018 spring meeting in Washington, D.C. The minister, who returned to the island yesterday, emphasized that modernization of the country's central bank will result in increased transparency as well as achieve greater accountability in the bank's operations. The minister met with management of the IMF, the World Bank, and the Inter-American Development Bank, where he outlined programs being pursued by the government to achieve economic expansion for all, as well as fiscal sustainability and the protection of the vulnerable. Clark also discussed the country's increasing stable economic environment, in addition to the policies and programs that the government plans to implement. The United States on Monday gave American customers of Russia's biggest aluminum producer more time to comply with sanctions and said it would consider lifting them if Rusal's major shareholder, Russian tycoon Oleg Deripaska, ceded control of the company. A week after Philip Paulwell, opposition spokesman on mining, warned that Windalco was facing a possible closure due to the expected domino effects of the sanctions on Rusal and its subsidiaries, the Russian conglomerate has been given a reprieve. The U.S. Treasury has given American companies until October 23 instead of June 5 to wind down business with Rusal. Approximately 1,200 workers at Windalco could be affected if the sanctions are imposed. Efforts are being made to forge tangible partnerships between the Housing, Opportunity, Production and Employment Program, HOPE, and security forces on duty in communities declared zones of special operations and areas where states of public emergency have been instituted. This was disclosed by National Coordinator for HOPE, Lieutenant Colonel Martin Rickman, who was speaking during a recent JIS think tank. Lieutenant Colonel Rickman said HOPE is seeking to reach as many unattached youth as is possible.
Approximately 127,000 youth between the ages of 18 to 24 are unattached. Now, this was a study that was done a few years ago, and we're trying to do further studies now. So it is estimated that the figure might be significantly more than that at this point.
He pointed out that these individuals are currently undergoing training through the Heart Trust NTA. Lieutenant Colonel Rickman noted that not all individuals identified for assistance will be able to register for HOPE because of the age requirements. Budding entrepreneurs are invited to purchase formulations for products from the Scientific Research Council, the SRC, that could create viable businesses. Executive Director of the SRC, Dr. Cliff Riley, told the JIS think tank that each year the SRC produces quite a large number of food and natural product formulations. He said the council currently has formulations for sauces, seasonings, and beverages, which could be modified based on the desire of the entrepreneur. Riley explained that there are products that can be bought and be solely owned by the clients, and there are also products that could be purchased through partnership with the council, while exclusive or non-exclusive sale. Marketing manager at the SRC, Carolyn Rose Miller, further explained that based on market trends, the SRC develops food formulations and makes them available for persons to buy. She noted that the council is open to signing contracts with clients, including non-disclosure agreements. Both Jamaica and Nigeria are seeking to strengthen their relationship through trade, air services, and culture. Newly appointed Nigerian High Commissioner to Jamaica, Janet Omolego Olisa, told JIS that the two countries are finalizing a bilateral agreement. The High Commissioner said that emphasis will be placed on improving trade between the two countries, noting that not much has been happening in that area. She said that one of the main concerns from the business community is transportation between Jamaica and Nigeria. The commissioner said she has held several meetings with government ministers and representatives of the private sector over the past months to explore opportunities for greater trade and business linkages between the two countries. In regional news, the United Kingdom's Home Secretary has pledged that the Windrush generation will be granted British citizenship. The Home Office will now waive citizenship fees for Windrush generation and their families and any charges for returning to the UK for those who had retired to their countries of origin after making their lives in Britain. It will also scrap language and British knowledge tests and bring in speedy financial compensation for those that had suffered loss. In a statement to Parliament on Monday, Home Secretary Amber Rudd said she recognized the harrowing experiences of the Caribbean immigrants who helped rebuild post-war Britain and that she was determined to right the wrongs that had taken place. In sports, head coach Theodore Whitmore will travel with the senior Reggae Boys team for their two-match friendly international tour of the Eastern Caribbean this week after he was initially axed from the tour. In a release from the Jamaica Football Federation yesterday, it was revealed that the former Reggae Boys star player will be a part of the delegation, but head coach remains Jerome Waite with Donovan Ducky as his assistant, thus forcing Whitmore to the sidelines for these two games. Last weekend, JFF President Michael Ricketts defended Whitmore's non-inclusion in the travel party, saying all that decision took place before Tapper had withdrawn his resignation. And that's the news. Do stay with us. The weather report is next. This is PBCJ's weather report. Thanks so much for staying with us. Let's start with a look at what's happening in Kingston. In Kingston this afternoon, the temperature is just about 28 degrees Celsius. It feels like 31 degrees though. Wind speed is east at 7 kilometers per hour. In our 7-day forecast for Kingston, we're expecting sunny skies between today and tomorrow, but we could be getting some rainfall tomorrow afternoon. We're seeing a 60% chance of rainfall. We're seeing warm temperatures for this week between 23 and 30 degrees Celsius on average going into the weekend. If you're planning for a beach weekend, you might want to reconsider. We're seeing 80% chance of rainfall on Saturday and a 70% chance of rainfall on Sunday for Kingston. This might change though. Let's take a look at what's happening over there in Montego Bay, St. James. Humidity is at 70% and we're seeing a forecast of cloudy conditions but predominantly sunny skies over there in Montego Bay, St. James. Let's take a look at the 7-day forecast. We're seeing warm temperatures between 23 and 29 degrees Celsius on average across the next 7 days. We could also be getting some rainfall over there in Montego Bay, 40% chance of rainfall on Wednesday, and that increases as we go into the weekend. Let's look at our forecast for today across the island. In the other parishes, we're seeing temperatures between 28 and 32 degrees Celsius, so it's going to be pretty warm out. In the southern end of the island, we're seeing a forecast of cloudy conditions in St. Thomas, but we could be getting some rainfall over there in Negril. Tomorrow, though, we can expect temperatures between 28 and 31 degrees Celsius. We're seeing a forecast of rainfall for St. Elizabeth, and over there in St. James, cloudy conditions for St. Anne and a possibility of rainfall in St. Thomas. In our regional forecast for tomorrow, we're seeing rainfall for Santo Domingo, Nassau, and over there in Havana, Cuba. Cloudy conditions are forecast for St. George's, Grenada. Temperatures registering between 28 and 29 degrees Celsius are forecast across the Caribbean for tomorrow. Further afield now, we're looking at the United States with a minimum temperature 11 degrees Celsius with a high 36 degrees Celsius for the areas Los Angeles, Miami, New York and Atlanta. Los Angeles, you're clocking the highest temperature forecast for tomorrow at 36 degrees Celsius, your maximum temperature. We're seeing a possibility of rainfall and snowfall for New York. Cloudy conditions are forecast for Atlanta. And that's it for the weather report. Thanks so much for once again making it PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. Pleasant viewing.